Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the March 2018 edition of the Wealthy Travel Agent Power Hour. I'm Dan Chappelle, and I want to take this opportunity to thank you for joining us today. I know for a lot of you, it's a step out of your normal daily routine. Those of you who are members of the Wealthy Travel Agent Academy, thank you so much for allowing me to open this up to everyone so that they can kind of get a peek behind the curtain as to what we do here at the Wealthy Travel Agent Academy. And this is our monthly coaching that we do. It's a group coaching session, and every now and then we'll bring in special guests, and I'm going to introduce one to you here in just a few minutes. So let me introduce myself to those of you who don't know me. I'm Dan. My mission is to develop sales leaders in the travel and tourism industry, specifically by increasing your sales to affluent travelers. Affluent travelers is a market that a lot of people, there's a lot of mystery behind that to a lot of people, and my goal is to help take that away, because it's such a fantastic market. It's a growing market, and it's one that you can make a lot of money at, and it's almost money that's out there just waiting to be picked up off the street. And I also wrote an Amazon bestseller, as you can see. The Wealthy Travel Agent Guide to Sales. It's called Get Your Ship Together. And we're going to talk a little bit about ship as part of some of the questions that we have going on through here. So I'm going to ask you to type any questions that you may have into the chat box. Let's see, it's a Q&A box. Let me open that up so that I can see that as well. Over here on the side, we'll just do that. Most of you know I'm not the single most technology proficient person in the world.
Well, it appeared there. You're good to go, Don.
Okay, I got lots of little windows open here, so let's get started here. So be sure and type your questions either into the Q&A box, or probably the chat box is probably the best option there. Let's see. Boom. Okay. And as you know, this session is being recorded, so you're going to get a copy of this if you like. One of the things I would like for you to do is, put away any distractions. Myself included, I had to put the dogs and the cats out of the room. We've got 4 of them, so yes, everybody is muted. Hopefully everybody's muted, so perfect. So let's get rid of any distractions. We want to stay focused on the session here so that we can learn. We're going to share back and forth. As you recall, I asked everyone who's joining to send in your questions, send in your topics. Nothing's really off out of limits here. I'm here to answer just about everything, and if I can't, I typically try to bring in somebody who can, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. So this is a typical agenda that we have at for the monthly meeting. It's a welcome. And again, I want to thank you all for coming, taking time out of your day. But most of all, I want to thank the members, because the members are here on a monthly basis. And this is one of the benefits of a membership. And to become a member, of course, you have to, you purchase one of my products, whether it's Secret Selling to the Fluent Traveler, Sales Acceleration, or you're into the private coaching program. Anyone who's part of that is a member of the Wealthy Travel Agent Academy. And this meeting is open to everybody each month as we go through here. We typically start out with member education. We will go through sections of one of the programs that needs a little bit of elaboration on, whether people have requested it, or I think, there's been some changes going on in the business environment. And so we typically spend some time sharing, coaching, consulting, and that type of thing. And then towards the end of the program, and I should say the end of the program, because most of this is about the member questions that have been submitted. And because this is all about you. This isn't about me sitting up here chatting away and everything else. This is about you. This is for your benefit. And the more that we can share with people in the industry, the better everybody's going to do. So it's a wonderful thing to be able to affect the livelihoods of people just like you, and help you become successful selling to affluent travelers. But first, before we get started, we had a number of questions that were submitted about social media marketing. Now, as most of you will know, if you know me, I'm all about sales, because all the marketing in the world doesn't matter if you don't make a sale. But social media marketing is actually one of the top venues of getting your name out, getting your brand out, getting your message out, getting your promotions out. So I've actually asked a good friend of mine, Catherine He, to join us today. Let me see, why am I not going? Catherine is a social media expert. She has a company called Customized Management Solutions, and you can see her website there is cmsspeaking.com. And I've asked her to join us to kind of, this is an area that I'm not an expert in. So I wanted to bring in someone like Catherine who is, to answer some of the questions that we have regarding the social media aspects of this.
Great. Well, thanks, Dan. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming. I appreciate you taking time to join us today. It's usually a really good group. We've got some great questions, and we'll get to stuff here in just a little bit. So we're going to get started by the education portion of this. So high-end travel sales hacks. The opportunity that's out there for us right now, it's simply too large to ignore. And I want to start out with a statement here, really. It's the uncomfortable truth about success. It's not about working more. It's not about working smarter. It's not about working harder. It's about doing the things that other people aren't willing to do. And in our business, sales and marketing have come to pretty much be synonymous with each other. And they're very different. Okay, as I said earlier, all the marketing in the world doesn't matter if you can't close the sale. Okay, but the marketing also complements that, and all the marketing that you do the end result should be to support your sales efforts going forward. And think of yourself more as a salesperson than as a marketing person or as a travel agent and all of that kind of stuff. If you focus on the sales part of it and the service that you're doing to a customer that you have or a client, you're doing them a favor. You're doing them a tremendous service when they choose you to be the person that handles their travel arrangements for them, because it's a huge investment for them. If you think about it, most people have 2 weeks vacation each year, and that's very, very valuable time to them. So they don't want to mess it up. Okay, a lot of them have found out the hard way by trying to do it themselves. And there's some stuff you can do yourself. You can book an airline ticket, but the vacations, the things that we can add value to, and that's one of the things about being a travel professional in this day and age. It's tough business, so we've got to learn how to really truly communicate our value to potential customers. So luxury cruise inventory increased 45% in 2016 alone, and it'll double again by the year 2020. And actually, just a couple of days ago, Penant announced some new ships that they're going to start building. So it's actually going up even more so. You're going to see most of the growth that's visible within the cruise market, but it's happening in a lot of other places as well throughout here. River cruising continues to grow exponentially. You can't just be a river cruise specialist anymore. It's just like you couldn't just be a cruise specialist. You have to now kind of drill that down even deeper than that. So river cruising is growing, and you've got everything from budget to luxury throughout that process there. Specialty cruise and tour operators. I mean, everyone is growing. You see more and more about that, and there's a reason for that. So if all of this is happening, all of this growth is taking place, why is it that the focus on luxury products is actually down? Okay, according to the Travel Weekly industry survey that just came out in November, December of last year, agency focus, overall, all agencies that were part of the survey, their focus on luxury is down 5%. Down 5%. Okay, that's unbelievable. When you've got all this inventory that's coming up in hotels and resorts, I mean, you see it every day. Virgin is building ships. Ritz-Carlton is building ships and new hotels, and Four Seasons. Everyone is expanding in that market, but yet the focus is down. Now, river cruising they have a category in itself, but it's only up 4% as far as the focus goes. So overall, it's down. It's down pretty much altogether. Okay, now for those traditional agencies that are out there, and these are the brick and mortars and most of the ones that you hear about, and their focus is down 9%. 9%. Now, I don't get it. It's an opportunity that we should be able to reach out there and grab. Like I said, it's like picking money up off the street. it's a tremendous opportunity. I don't understand why the focus is down when the market is going up, unless it's just easier to sell other things. Okay, but we're not in it for easy. We're going to do things differently than the way other people do it, because those commission checks that come with those luxury products are huge. For those of you who have sold world cruises, I actually I've talked to many of you just the past couple of weeks, because I did a Facebook promotion where I gave away 15 minutes of my time for one-on-one consultations. And I had a couple of folks actually tell me that they sold a world cruise this year, and just a week before. And it's huge, 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 huge. When you think about it, the average world cruise is about $100,000. Okay, so if you're at 13%, that's $13,000. 15%, that's $15,000 in commission. It's out there. It's there for us to get. Your audio is really loud. Okay, move away from the mic. Okay, let me move that there a little bit. Sorry about that. I get excited when I'm going through and doing all of this. Okay. All right. Well, the reason that all of this is coming up, and the reason, in my opinion, why that all of the focus is down, is because there's not enough qualified travel professionals selling the product. Now, what does qualified mean? Well, qualified doesn't mean that you've sailed on every luxury cruise line, stayed in luxury hotels. Qualified means dealing with the customer. Okay, working with the customer on the customer level. Most folks are very comfortable selling, mass market product, things like Royal Caribbean, Carnival, Globus, Holland America, those kind of things. You're comfortable with that because the numbers aren't big. Okay, it's a comfortable thing. But there's just not enough folks that are out there selling that product. And you can't just hang a shingle out. You can't just hang a shingle out and expect people to come or expect people to show up at your door. No, we want to look at who the customer is. Now, all of us for years and years and years have been hearing, the last probably 10 years, we've been hearing, oh, you got to market to the millennials. You got to do the millennials. The millennials are the way to go. That's where all the money is. And if you're not marketing to the millennials, you're going to be dead in the water. Well, I want to ask you, and this is a rhetorical question because most of you probably can't answer back unless you want to type it in the chat box. What was the average age of a seaborne passenger 20 years ago? Or a Crystal passenger, or a vacation, someone on vacation in a Ritz-Carlton resort? The average age is usually roughly, 60, 65. That was 25 years ago. What do you think the average age on those same ships is today? 60, 65. What do you think it's going to be in another 10, 15 years? 60, 65. So is your target market the millennials, the people that haven't learned how to look up? They run into light poles and they run into you walking down the street. Is this your market when you're talking about selling to luxury products and to affluent travelers? No, absolutely not. This is your customer, the baby boomers. And the baby boomers are going to be your customer for at least the next 10 to 15 years. I'm in the tail end of that. I was born in 1964, which is considered the last year of the baby boomers. So, I'm 53 years old. I've got a lot of years of travel in front of me, and so do a lot of other people. Okay, we tend to be a lot more active than previous generations are. And according to Northern Trust, which is a wealth management firm, the baby boomers, we control 50% of the discretionary dollar that's in the marketplace today. Okay, so if that's the case, why are we focusing on millennials? That's not really where we want to be, because they still have kids in school, they've got mortgages to pay, they're working up the corporate ladder and that kind of thing. We want to go after, when we're growing the affluent market, we want to go after the baby boomers. We want to go after the people that have the money and those who really want to travel. And they don't want to travel cookie cutter necessarily. So who are they? I'm going to go in. There's really three types of affluent travelers that you have. There are the active travelers, the aspirational, and there are those who are actually affluent. But let's talk about those who are active. And because I want you to get a picture in your head about who this potential customer is. Okay? And these are people that are around you every day. They're small business owners, realtors, particularly in hot markets, are making tons and tons of money. Okay? And they like to take their vacations. What most folks ignore is the blue collar worker. You know, we always want to go after the doctors and the lawyers and all that, but this, you know, but the guy who owns the mechanic shop down the street, or the machine shop, or the guy who owns a construction company, or who's the supervisor there, or works out on oil rigs. These are people who really have a lot of discretionary income, and they like to spend it when they go on vacation. Okay, so you have people who are active in their professions, and they may be retired. You know, they may have passed on their business to the next generation or sold it, but they stay active in it. You see this a lot. It's probably most visible when you talk about the professionals like doctors, lawyers, accountants, and things like that, is they'll actually, you know, volunteer their time. Doctors, dentists, lawyers, you know, do pro bono work. You'll see the doctors and the dentists go to third world countries. There's a lot of activity as far as being professional, because they like to keep their minds sharp. Okay. They're physically active. You know, one of the questions that came up, and we're going to talk about it later, has to do with accessible travel. But the greatest fear of most people is not growing old. It's not, you know, getting too fat or anything else. It's lack of mobility. You know, it's having to get around with the use of a walker, wheelchair, or cane. You can't necessarily get out and see the world that you really want to. So that's why you see the baby boomers that you want to target here as part of the affluent. You'll see them. They're the ones, when you go on cruise ships, they're the ones that are out walking the decks at 5 o'clock in the morning. The ones that wake you up if you're right under the track or right under the promenade deck. They're the ones that you see out walking on the golf courses, in the communities, playing very active stuff, being tennis, hiking, climbing. I like to hike and not climbing as much, but you know, my partner's 10 years older than me, you know, and he can run circles around me, you know, when we're up on the trail, or when we're up on the side of a mountain, you know, because he's active. This is what he does. This is, you know, it's important. And people are into the baby boomers are part of what I refer to as the younger next year generation. And if you're not familiar with the book Younger Next Year, you should get it, because it's all about stopping, slowing down, and reversing the aging process through exercise. Okay. So there's a lot of things that you can do to stay active physically, and even if it's just as walking. But this is what you'll see. You know, this is one of the characteristics of the active people. As I said, they're active professionally, they're active physically, and they're active socially. Okay? They're very active socially. They tend to join groups, bridge clubs. You'll see them at country clubs. The beauty of all of this, and it's an active social life, but who they really socialize with the most is friends and family. Okay, close friends and family. It's important to them. It's important to grow that part of who they are and what they do. So, and it doesn't matter what you're selling, whether you're focusing on affluent travel or whether you're just selling anything. Because remember, affluent travel is a segment. It's a portion of your business that you're trying to develop, not necessarily the whole thing from the beginning. But you should always, always, always ask this question. And if you don't, you start today. Who do you know, or do you have people, friends and family, that typically travel with you when you go on vacation? That's it. Ask that question, because the odds are pretty good that you're going to have folks that travel with their kids. They have close friends that typical travel with. And if you don't ask the question, you lose the opportunity to get the business. And just simply asking that question, you have the opportunity to double, triple, quadruple your commissions. Okay? Myself, my wife, and I, we typically travel with 2 other couples when we go on vacation. No, we do book with the travel agent, but nobody has asked. She has never asked, you know, who we typically do we travel with anybody. And I'm not going to suggest it because I'm a sales guy, you know, I'm playing the game with, you know. And one of them books direct. always books direct. That's what they do, and you're not going to change that. But the other one, is wishy-washy on their local travel agents. So, if you ask the question, you have the opportunity to get the business. It's being proactive. Okay, so those are the three pieces of the active traveler. Okay, they're active professionally, they're active physically, and they're active, very, very much active socially. All right, so I told you that the education part is it's a piece of it, but where we really like to get into it here is we want to talk about what you want to talk about. Okay, and so we had a number of questions that were submitted over the last couple of weeks since we announced this, and as I said, some of them were related to social marketing, so that's why I asked Catherine to join us here. And some of them were a lot the same, so we took them and kind of you'll maybe see your question here, and it might be a mashup of a bunch of other ones that are very similar to it. And so we'll just jump right in. As I'm seeing a lot of questions coming up through the chat. So as soon as we can get to those, okay, I'll have to get back to that. So we'll go through the ones that we have first, and then if we got time, we're going to get to the ones that have been submitted through here. Okay. All right. So this question was asked by a number of people. What is the best way to break into the luxury market? Well, I had to give this a lot of thought because this is what I teach. I bring people out, I help them get into the market and grow their business and take the mystery out of it. To me, the best way to get in there is first you have to ask yourself a couple questions. Are you prepared to get into that market? Okay, and when I say are you prepared, are you mentally ready for this? Okay, because you're gonna it's a much more socially active environment that you're going to be working with your potential customers. You got to get to know them. The book is called Get Your Ship Together, and the reason for that is it's about skills, habits, inspiration, and then planning and performance. Okay, so when we talk about skills, do you have the skills that are necessary? And it's not just the the product. Everybody can learn the product. You've been on 1,000 webinars. We've all done that. Okay, but do you have the sales skills? Okay, are you good with relationship selling? Okay, as I said, all the marketing in the world doesn't help if you can't close a sale. So it's all about building a relationship with people that you go through there. Your social skills are important as well because you'll be attending, invited to cocktail receptions. You'll have lunch with your potential customers, even talking on the phone with them. Being able to carry on a conversation. It's important to have proper social etiquette, social skills that you have when you're working with them. Your habits. What are your habits like? Okay. If you're a smoker, you want to make sure that you're not, most of the world's population doesn't smoke. So you want to, try to mask that if you can. Or if you're on the phone, sometimes a lot of people smoke while they're on the phone. You want to probably try to avoid that. So you've got good habits, you got bad habits. You want to make a habit of getting up in the morning and looking at your email and planning your day and planning your activities and things that you want to do. So, and a lot of this is general stuff, but this is really what you need to do is get yourself in a position to break through. Okay, your inspiration, why are you doing this? Okay, if you're just doing it to make money, that's okay, but it's not going to take you long term. And you got to figure that out. And then from a planning and performance, okay, what metrics are we going to look at? And when we talk about planning, what products do we want to focus on? So when you're breaking into the niche market or into the luxury market, you want to focus on a niche. People will spend more and more money with people who are very familiar with what the product is or the destination is. My suggestion is you start becoming an expert or a specialist in a destination and then add the product to it because the products change. Okay.
So from a social perspective, if I can jump in here, Dan, the best way in my mind to break into the luxury market is start posting things that are luxury looking on your social sites. So we're not going to be posting things that are discounts or savings. We're going to be posting information about a luxury destination and then talking about how that can be part of their vacation opportunity.
Right. So you've got to tell them, and that's part of it too. You've got to tell them. They don't know that you sell these products. They
Right.
think that, you're probably putting out the best deals. You're putting out the mass market stuff. But they don't think that you sell higher end product or niche products or things like that. And because they don't think that, they're going to get on the internet, they're going to make a search, and they're going to see, okay, this agency either sells it, or worse, they're going to say, you know what, I'm going to book it direct. They seem to know more about what they're talking about. So becoming an expert is key. Getting to know your product, and then, of course, from your marketing standpoint, make sure that you're putting it out there that you sell these products. You sell world cruises. If you put a Facebook post out that for contact me for your world cruise, you'd be surprised what kind of interest you might get there. Okay.
And then if you add a picture of that as well, picture of a world cruise or a luxury destination that they might visit on that world cruise, that just adds the social aspect and the visual aspect to it. So as we know, everybody is so visual these days. They're scrolling through their news feed, and they're going to stop at video. They're going to stop at outstanding pictures. And if that picture speaks to the luxury market, you've got them.
Yeah. So as I said earlier, you can't just hang out your shingle. You've got to be willing to do the things that you do. Now, the best way to really get started, okay, you can do your marketing. Marketing is reactive, but doing referral marketing is proactive. Okay, referral marketing is like prospecting. So you go to your your existing customer base, or you go to the people who are close to you. Everybody knows someone who owns a business, who is a director or above at some company somewhere, or is a doctor or a lawyer in the professional ranks, and that kind of thing. Everybody knows those. You think about it, you have those. So if you sit there and you write them all down, then you want to go to those people and ask them for help. Say, I'm building my business. I'm specializing in luxury river cruising on the Danube. Who do you know that might benefit from my services? Or who do you know that is considering taking a river cruise? Because they talk about that. And then wait for a second, and then ask for the contact information. Could I get their names? And I'll be sure and mention your name when I talk to them. Okay. That's how you really break into it. And that's really how you exponentially grow your business, is you do it organically through your network. Networking is probably one of the most important things you can do, not just in the affluent part of the business, but any business part of it at all. It's the people, it's not who you know, but who knows you. And you use that to your advantage to break into the marketplace as we go through there. Telling them what you sell, prospecting is a big piece. If you just, from a marketing standpoint, and as most of you who follow me know, I'm very proactive when it comes to the sales process, and prospecting is part of that. You've got the ideal customer that you want to work with. You know who that is. You've got your head wrapped around that. Now you got to go out and find them. So when you do go and you ask for help from someone to refer someone to you, and they mention someone, well, this person typically takes Carnival cruises, or they usually go on Globus Plus tours and things like that. Well, you know what? That's not your customer. And you say, thank you. This is kind of more who I'm looking for. Who do you know that better fits that type of category? Okay. So that's how you do this. Okay. But you have to be willing to do it. You have to be willing to execute it. You have to be willing to get out from behind your desk. And most importantly, you need to be able to pick up the phone. Okay. In this day and age, so many folks lose sight of how effective the telephone is. Most people in the sales business get where they are from using the phone. A lot of people like to hide behind email. Email is a communication tool. The telephone is a communication tool. Social media is a communication tool. Okay. But none of them are a substitute for you. Okay. People are buying, and particularly when we're talking about the luxury end of it, they're buying from people. They want it to know who they're buying from, but they want to be able to trust someone. Because once you get them and you're able to serve them well, they're going to stay with you. Because the affluent travelers tend to be pretty loyal, because they don't want to go through the process of training somebody again and again and again and again. They want you to be able to anticipate their needs, and there's a lot that you can do that will affect that change. So hopefully that answers the question. If not, and you have more specific questions, be sure and just email them to me at dan@wealthytravelagent.com. Anything else you'd like to add, Catherine?
No, I think you got it covered there. In thinking about the luxury market, the main thing that I see travel agents doing who do it really well is posting pictures and videos that really speak to that luxury traveler. We're not thinking about pictures that are mid-market looking pictures. We're thinking about things that are exotic, that aren't always attainable in that mid-market, that you have to use a professional travel consultant for to be able to do those things, whether it's a private cooking tour or whether it's a private tour walking through some market in Thailand, or whether it's a wine tasting experience right with the vintner at the vineyard. So those are the kind of pictures and videos that are going to appeal to that marketplace.
Right. And the first place to start is your storefront. That's your website. You know, if you've got your cookie cutter site that you get from your host agency or consortia that doesn't scream that I sell luxury travel or high-end products or niche products, they're just going to go right on past it.
Well, and it also pertains to how you look and how you dress. You know, I used to call on this travel agent who was a luxury high-end cruise agent. Every time I went there, she had on some sort of cruise earrings or a pin or something that was related to cruising. Everybody knew that she sold luxury high-end cruises, and she did phenomenally well with it.
Yeah, and for those of you who sit at home, and which a lot of you do because you're home-based, get dressed in the morning because it puts you in a different frame of mind so that you can, you know, when you're having a conversation with someone, you feel good about yourself and you're able to do that. One of the last thing I want to add about this is has to do with your relationship with money and your comfort level with asking. That's why I said, you know, it starts with your mental picture here. How comfortable are you asking for money? I mean, for those of you who follow me, you know, my first six-figure sale was just a couple of weeks after I had bought my first house for $130-something thousand, and here was a trip that was $110,000 I was selling. I mean, and I was puckered up. I was sweating like a leaf. It was something I wasn't comfortable with. But you work through that. So put yourself into uncomfortable situations. Be comfortable asking for large sums of money. And you shouldn't be afraid to, because most people who are buying a luxury end product, they know how much it costs. They're expecting a number like that. It's us. It's a mental block that we have that gets in the way. So don't be afraid to throw out those big numbers.
And practice, you know, go practice in front of your mirror if you need to.
Right. Yeah.
And the other thing about dressing up, you know, if you are dressed for the day and a client says, hey, let's do a video conference call, I really want to see some of this stuff. You're already dressed up, you're dolled up, you got your hair done, you're ready to go. You're not missing the opportunity to meet with that potentially busy, potentially luxury client.
And so much of what we do is online, just like we're doing today. And video is going to become a bigger and bigger part of that. Yeah. So the next question is, I got to move this out of the way here so I can read what I was saying. Okay, is there a way to fast track branding of a service business, specifically travel planning, is the Purple Cow methodology, which was coined by Seth Godin as it applies to a product? Okay, so for those of you who aren't familiar with Seth Godin, he's a writer. He's a very prolific writer. He writes about a lot of things. Writes a lot of parable type books, business related books. And one of the books he wrote is called The Purple Cow. And the reason it's called the Purple Cow is, as you can see from the picture there, all cows look the same. You know, if you're in a dairy herd, a Holstein dairy herd, they're all black and white. Okay? But a purple cow will stand out. And how do you stand out? Well, you stand out by being truly remarkable, offering a remarkable service, offering a remarkable product. So how does it relate to travel planning? You know, how can you be remarkable? And that was a question I had to ask, because, you know, if you think about it, we all sell the same thing. There are 100,000 travel agents in North America that can sell exactly the same product that you have. So why should they buy from you? Okay, what is it remarkable? What is so remarkable about you that they should work with you on? Okay, uh, a lot of folks can't answer that question. And the other part of that equation is, what value do you bring to the transaction? That makes it remarkable, and can you communicate that? Okay, as a purple cow, I think within our industry, it's to become more specialized. If you want to stand out from the crowd more and more and more, particularly in the marketing, you want to be known for something. Okay, whether that's being known for as I said, river cruising on the Danube. It could be African safaris in Tanzania. The more specific, so you can get, the better. So being wide and shallow is not necessarily a good thing when it comes to purple cow. You want to be narrow and deep. Okay, you want to be able to have a small niche that you own. Okay, and we all have the opportunity to do that, and we all have the opportunity to stand out. Okay, now once you have that remarkable service, then you've got to get it out there. Okay, you've got to be able to communicate what you do better than anybody else to the masses. Because if you're the only one that knows it, it still doesn't do you any good. So Catherine, you want to add a few comments about how to get the remarkableness out to the public?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And Belvin also asked, how do agents separate themselves from what everybody else is doing? And it comes socially. Make sure that your social section on Facebook, your About section, really defines what it is that you do and why you stand out. There's an opportunity to tell your story in that About section. So make sure you're using those keywords that apply to that luxury or affluent traveler. And then make sure your cover image, make sure everything you post socially shouts luxury or affluent traveler and appeals to that person. In addition to the Facebook About section, make sure that your website looks affluent. Make sure your website looks luxury. Make sure you're on LinkedIn. Because if you think about those business executives or that owner of that business down the street from you, they're probably using LinkedIn to find new employees or to seek out other service providers that they may need. So they may find you on LinkedIn as well. And make sure that your luxury offerings and luxury look and feel is available there too. Not only on your personal profile on LinkedIn, but you can also set up a company page and showcase pages on LinkedIn. So that's a couple more ways for you to really set yourself apart and showcase the fact that you do sell luxury.
Yeah. So Julianne asked the question, says, most of my clients are older and not active on Facebook. So how do you communicate with them? Well, that would be, there's a couple ways you can do that. And that, you go old school. You pick up the phone and you call them. You send them a letter or direct mail, postcards. If you look at what the river cruise lines do, particularly Viking, they do this very, very well. They spend a fortune on direct mail. They send out their brochure. I probably get, and I've been on 2 Viking cruises and it's been probably 10 years, but I still get probably 5 or 6 full brochures from them every single year. Okay, and particularly in the fall as it's leading up to it.
And think about Facebook users. They're getting older and older every day. So just because you're seniors or you're people you don't think are on Facebook, they might really be there. They might be lurking. They might not know enough to comment or share, but they are there watching you because they want to see what their grandkids are doing. They want to keep involved with their own families. So they're going to be there. But they might not be as active as some of your other age groups on Facebook, but they are watching.
Okay, so Kimberly has a question here. Could you give a little bit more information about how to use LinkedIn?
Kimberly, that's a great question. Yes, I can. I'll give you one quick tip and then we can connect offline. I've got a ton of stuff on LinkedIn that'll help you out. The one quick tip is to make sure you have a company page set up on LinkedIn. And then off of your company page, you can set up showcase pages, which are really a great way to highlight what your niche markets and specialties are. So you might have one showcase page that's all about luxury travel. You might have another showcase page that's all about cruising. You might have another showcase page about African safaris, if that's one of your niche markets. And that will help people understand what you do, who you appeal to, and help you spread the word to that type of user on LinkedIn.
It's similar to the medical profession. You know, you've got to be specific about what you do and what your specialty is. You know, you don't go to a proctologist for heart problems. I mean, I just pulled my mother-in-law went and got a colonoscopy today, so that's kind of why I got that on my mind. But it's you know, even though they're both doctors, they have different specialties. We're all travel professionals. We have different specialties, and people will seek out the travel professional who specializes in that product that they're looking for at that time. But we have to be proactive in getting it out there and letting them know as much as possible that this is what we do. Okay,
and that's the value of social marketing, because we can really showcase what we do and how we do it, whether it's on LinkedIn with that showcase page or whether it's on Pinterest and you set up separate boards for luxury, for cruising, for African safaris, whatever your niche markets are. And same thing with Instagram. Ooh, we got some puppies wanting to join us. Same thing with Instagram. If you're putting out pictures that appeal to that luxury market, people are going to obviously associate you with that luxury market. If you're putting out some things that are lower end, millennials partying at the beach or at the pool or naked in the hot tub, you know, they're not going to be turned on by that as much as they would be turned on by a luxury opportunity at a vineyard.
Great. And I think the UPS guys came up, so I apologize for the dogs barking there. One of the perils of working at home. So let's move on to the next one, because I know Catherine has to get out of here in just a few minutes for her next appointment. So I believe, let me see, next one goes to. So I keep hearing about that video is important in social marketing. Okay. Why and how can I get started with my own videos?
That's a great question. Video is huge, and I prepared this little slide here for you because there's so many ways that you can use video. Everybody is sort of afraid of getting in front of the camera or shooting their own video because they think it takes a lot of time. Granted, it may take a little longer than just going out and snapping a photo, but look at all the ways that you can use this video. There's a stat out there that says 78% of people watch video online every single week, and 55% of people watch video online every single day. So that's pretty encouraging numbers. So if you're shooting a video, maybe you're shooting it on your phone or you've got a special webcam that you're shooting it from, you can use it on all of the social sites that you see on your screen there. Plus, you can also embed it into your blog. You can reference it in your e-newsletter that you're sending out, and you can post it to your website. So one quick, easy way to get started with video is creating a video slideshow from your still images. So I know you've all got tons of images lurking on your phone and on your hard drive. You can use a tool like the Facebook slideshow or Animoto or Flipagram, any of those tools, to create a video from those still images. So for example, the easiest way to start is to go to Facebook, and there's an option to create a Facebook video slideshow right in the same place where you would upload a picture. You'll see that option there. And you can upload up to 10 images, still images, and Facebook mashes them all together and creates a video for you. You can even add some music that Facebook provides for you, and voila, you've got a video. The hardest part about it is choosing which images you want to use. The other piece is really, really easy. It'll take you less than 5 minutes to put together that slideshow video. Then if you want to up your game a little bit, get a little more reach, get a little more share of different social platforms, you can use a tool like Animoto. And I'll type that in the chat box when we're done here so everybody has that name. And with Animoto, you can create a video slideshow from your still images, and they've got some backgrounds that you can put in and some other bells and whistles. And you can share it not only on Facebook, but you can share it across a variety of other social platforms. So your time will be well spent. And the beauty of video is that right now, Facebook and other social platforms are giving you far more reach on an organic post for anything that you do by video. So it's a great opportunity to dive in, pretty simple, and get that extra reach and engagement that you're looking for.
Fantastic. Thank you, Catherine, for that. And with that, Catherine's got to run. So
I do.
I want to take the opportunity to say thank you for joining us today. It's been a world of wealth of information for all of us, myself included. I've been sitting here taking notes while you were talking as well. If you're interested in engaging her, just reach out. I do. I have coaches I work with. I work with Catherine. She helps me with my social media and stuff like that. So promise you no sales pitches or anything, but if you need help, she's a great resource to reach out and see. So,
Thank you.
And I can give her contact information again at the end if you'd like.
Great. Thank you so much, Dan. And I will see you soon. And remember, you and I are doing some video together real soon here.
That's right. Just so for everybody's benefit, Catherine and I are teaming up to do a workshop on luxury travel and social media towards the end of May. So it's we're pretty excited about that. It's a great project we've been working on. So thank you so much for coming in and helping out today. Really appreciate it. It's been a great asset to the conversation today.
Thank you. And I see there's a bunch of other questions in here about luxury offers being posted on social marketing and more information on LinkedIn. I will get back to you folks on that, and I'll type in a couple of things in the chat box before I dash out the door.
Sounds great. Thanks so much, Catherine.
Thank
okay,
you.
So let's move on to the next question that we have, and we've got about 15 minutes here. So my niche is special needs and accessible travel. Most webinars ignore it, but more and more boomers are in the wheelchairs these days, and I was once there, and we're not going away. Absolutely, you're not going away. And I'm not sure why most webinars ignore it, because it is a big piece of the travel market, whether it's folks that are boomers, whether they're the older folks, whether they're coming up. Travel today is probably more accessible than it has ever been. And it is so important for those of us who are in business to recognize that. And accessible travel and special needs travel isn't just about being wheelchairs. Remember, I mentioned earlier that one of the biggest fears we have is about growing older is the lack of mobility. You know, having to get around with a wheelchair, cane, or walker limits where you can go. But there's also other special needs. You know, there's a number of folks that are on kidney dialysis that want to travel, and there are special cruises just for that. That special need. Folks need CPAP machines. Folks need oxygen. So you know, there's a lot of special needs that are out there. So now, you know, I'm not an expert in the area of special needs, but I will share this with you. One, go to the special needs website here, and I would encourage each and every one of you to go through this course, the special needs group course, and because it's actually the only one that's authorized or sanctioned by CLIA and some other organizations. But go, and IATA just did as well. But go through the program, learn what you can do to be an advocate for the program, so that when the situation comes up with your travelers and they say, well, you know, I've got this, or I can't get around very well because of that, you're going to know how to be able to respond to it. Okay, it's so important to do this. Now, from a travel agent perspective, you want to do your research. When you are dealing with someone that you know has special needs or is in a wheelchair or walker, or has trouble getting around, and it's important that you do this, because not all, particularly when you go outside of the United States, you know, ADA rules don't necessarily apply. And there's a number of cruise ships out there, particularly the older ones, that aren't handicap accessible. Okay, they're not wheelchair accessible. You know, most of you know I worked for Windstar Cruises. The two smaller ships, the Spirit and the gosh, I can't even remember the name of them anymore. Anyway, they hold 148 passengers. There are no passenger elevators, so that in itself will limit the number, who you can put on those ships. And a lot of the smaller ships, and as I said, even the older ones, they have very small elevators as well. So it's tough to get a wheelchair into those. It's possible, but it's tough. So you want to make sure that you always ask the supplier about that. I know a great product, if you're familiar with Insight Vacations, they have their own buses in Europe that actually have wheelchair lifts, okay, on all the buses. So as the environment grows, as the boomers grow, and as more and more people travel, more and more people have medical needs and accessibility needs, the industry as a whole is changing with it. But we as travel professionals, we've got to learn from our end, how do we accommodate that? And they're not going away. In fact, most likely the population is going to grow. And so you're seeing more and more accessible cabins. Hotels are more and more accessible rooms. You're seeing this across the board. And yes, wealthy people do have disabilities, and wealthy people do have special needs. So most of your higher end product, because they cater to an older clientele to begin with, are going to have the necessary accommodations that you need to accommodate accessible travel. Now, when it comes to the other things we're talking about, which is the special needs, so it's oxygen, could be walkers, could be CPAP machines, a number of special needs, dialysis. If you work with the special needs group, they'll be able to help you with that, and they'll be able to tell you, they've got a database. They know everything that's going on in the industry about who does what, who can accommodate who, where they can get oxygen in, where they can't, that's why I say go to the special needs group, go through the program, okay? I think every travel professional, in fact, I think I'm going to do it myself. Every travel professional needs to know what to do when the situation arises. So I hope that answers your question. Yeah, I now that I think about it, the webinars I've been on, it never even comes up. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. And those of you who work with folks with special needs, whether you do now or not, you will, and you should always ask. Okay, don't assume that everyone is perfectly healthy. You should always ask. And along with that, then comes travel insurance. Okay, so travel insurance, I'm a huge advocate of travel insurance for a number of reasons. It benefits you, it benefits the customer, okay, and it protects everybody involved in there. Travel insurance, you're doing them a service by offering it. A lot of folks are afraid to offer travel insurance, but just make sure that the insurance that you're offering to someone that does have special needs or has accessibility issues, make sure that they're covered, okay? Whether it's pre-existing conditions or whatever, make sure that you know your policy. So whoever your travel insurance provider is, make sure you call them, okay, and ask specifically about the policies that you're selling, because you can't represent the policy to the consumer, okay? You have to put the travel insurance company on the phone, and they will actually be the ones who represent the policy and make statements about it. But it's in your best interest to be familiar with that. Okay, hope that answers the question. And as I said, I encourage everyone to join the special needs group. Okay, this is one I get this all the time. So, I need help and I'm willing to pay for it. Coaches, courses, consultant, mentors, whatever. There's so many choices. What's the best investment for me? Well, let's go through the definitions of what they are first, and then I'll just kind of tell you, depending on what your need is, what your best investment is. So a business coach works with you to develop skills that you already have. They work with you on mindset. They help you develop your purpose. A lot of what a business coach does is just like a football coach or any other type of coach. It's about motivation. It's about helping you get your head in the game. The limiting beliefs, helping you get over self-sabotage and fear and things like that. Okay? That's what a coach does. Okay. Now, a business consultant, a business consultant is more of an expert that you turn to when you need help. Okay. It's typically somebody who has had experience in the type of business that you have. They teach you skills that you don't have. They look at your business. They help you create action plans as part of that business plan. They're very well versed in planning and strategy and all that kind of good stuff that you have. But the biggest thing that they really do is they hold you accountable. So the difference between a coach, a consultant, and a lot of them are hybrid. You know, you're going to see some, and like, for instance, I'm a big believer in getting your mind in the right place first so that you mentally can make that sale to and break into the affluent market. But I also tell you how to do it step by step, show you what you need to be doing. Okay. So there's a hybrid of that. And most of us that are in the business of this, that's what we are. We're partly, you know, rah-rah, and we're partly, you know, nuts and bolts of what you want to do there. What's the best choice for you? Well, it really depends on what your need is. Okay, if you need somebody to tell you this, and not to be a cheerleader for you, then someone that leans more towards the business consultancy is the way to go. If you need somebody to keep you, you know, you've got that part down, and you need somebody to keep you motivated and keep you going and accountable every month, a business coach is the best way to go. But do your research. You know, look at who they are, what their specialties are, what they do, and make your choice based on that. I would not let cost come in the way, because you're not, you know, it's not what you're paying for. You're paying for the education. You're paying for the expertise to help you get where you want. It's actually going to save you a lot of money in the long run. And lastly is online courses. Okay, so there's a lot of online courses out there, both in the industry and out. Here's what I like about online courses. You know, it's like a college continuing ed course. We all get those flyers in the mail and everything else that your local community college is running courses on how to use Excel and stuff like that. So it's affordable, it's structured, it's documented, and typically an online course goes into so much more detail than what you will ever get out of a business consultant or a business coach. Okay, and it's there. It's typically yours. You're able to go back and refer to it as often as you like. Okay, and typically there's some coaching and stuff like what we're doing right now, the once a month group coaching program and stuff like that that goes with it, and marketing calls and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's a self-contained program. Okay, and it's typically for specific type things. Like mine, for instance, is selling to the fluent traveler. Stuart Cohen's is all about groups. Okay, so we've all got different things that are out there that you know. So you just pick the one that's the best investment for you based on your need, and you should sit down and write it down. You know, don't just say, "Oh, I like this person, I like that person." You know, I think that person's the best. You know, or the online course is the way to go. Write down specifically what your needs are, and then what I would do is call up or get in touch with the coach or consultant that you think might be a benefit to you, and do an interview. Talk to them. You know, find out how they can help you with your success. Because remember, at the end of the day, this is you. It's an investment in yourself. So you want to make sure you're spending your money wisely. Okay. So I hope that answers the question for most people. If you've got more on it, just let me know. Happy to do. Let's see. So now, let me see if I can get to the next slide here. Okay. Well, actually, it's 10:29, so we're right on time getting done. So I want to thank all of you for coming. It's because of you that this program keeps getting better. What you contribute to the program every month is really what drives this. Okay, it keeps it current. It helps me help you by telling me what you need throughout the whole program. Oh, sorry. So if you've got any comments, any more questions, just send them to dan@wealthytravelagent.com. For those of you who are members, the next WTA Power Hour will be towards the end of April. I've got a couple of things coming up. For those of you who are going to Las Vegas for the home-based travel forum, I'll be there. So I'll look forward to seeing you there. And then for those of you who are part of the Canadian host agency, Travel Agent Next Door, I'll see you in the Dominican Republic at your annual conference. I'll be speaking there. So is it open for all? Nope, unfortunately not. Unfortunately not. So it's all about how do you become a member. If you want to learn how to be a member, just shoot me an email and I can give you more information on the programs there. And that's all, folks. So if you're still here, I've got a couple of questions that did come in that some of them we answered as we went through between myself and Catherine. One of the questions that came in was, how do you make the switch from mid-tier to luxury? And that's a great question, because a lot of times you don't necessarily have to leave the brand. So if we're talking mid-tier, let's use Holland America as an example, or you could use MSC or even Royal Caribbean for that matter, or Celebrity. If you typically are selling to someone that normally would buy a balcony stateroom, okay, offer them a suite, or an Aqua Suite, or Neptune Suite, or whatever the suites are called, the Haven. Offer that. It's a lot easier to come down than it is to go up. So start at the top and come down, okay? But make sure you're able to communicate what they get as part of that. Now, one of the reasons why I'm saying do it within the individual brands is a couple things. One, let's be selfish here. You're probably making more commission on that mid-level brand than you might be making on the luxury brand. But number two, don't underestimate the value of customer loyalty programs. I'm a Delta frequent flyer. I'm a Delta million miler. I would, hardly think ever about going on any other airline because of the benefits I get of getting on first, not having to pay for check bags, that kind of thing. Well, all the cruise lines and most of the tour companies have similar type programs for benefit. So a lot of folks don't want to give that up. I had a customer that was a Crystal World Cruiser, and I was trying to get him to try Seabourn because I thought Seabourn might be a good fit for him as well. But I could never get him to make that change, not even to try it out for week 10 days, because he got so much benefit. The Crystal Society Rewards program was so sweet that he couldn't afford to go and didn't want to go because they give up all of that status, all of that privilege, and everything that came with it. So that's how you do it within the brands, because those suites they're up there in price too. Okay, now how do you get them to move up into the to the next level? Well, that gets down to explain what the value is. Okay, so you're going from typically a program where you're nickel and dimes to one that's all inclusive. Okay, so you go through and explain what the benefits are, and a lot of people when they take the cruise, it's destination first and it's food second. Okay, that's usually what they're there for. So destination wise, there's a number of trips, like Azamara, for instance, is so destination focused, and they do the overnights and totally immerse people into that destination. And the food that you have on Oceania and Azamara and basically all the luxury lines, it's not cooked a la carte, but it's pretty darn close. Okay, depending on the specialty restaurants, it is all cooked to order. So explain what that is and what the value is of eating in the steakhouse on one of these ships that would normally cost $300-400 just for a meal. Okay, that's included free. Things like that. So, what the destinations are, the immersion in the destinations, the shore excursions that they offer. A lot of them include some of the shore excursions as well. And use that, sell that value. It's a package value. This is what you get for $15,000 versus on Azamara versus $10,000 on Celebrity. Okay, it's a difference there, and you're going to have to encourage them to make the jump. Okay, you're going to have to say, you know what, you need to trust me on this one. You need to make that jump, and sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. But if you don't ask them, you don't know. Another question that came up was, when dealing with affluent travelers, how do we overcome concerns about being home based? I don't think it's really an issue. Most of the people you're going to be dealing with you're dealing with on telephone anyway, so or telephone and email, so they don't necessarily know that you're not sitting in an office somewhere. And in this day and age, it's not, it's not a red flag if somebody's not sitting in an office. Okay, they do business with people all the time that work out of their homes. A lot of the consultants that they work with, I work out of my home. A lot of you work out of your homes. You don't necessarily have to have a retail office. Now, if that's of a concern, there's always places that you can go. I think it's Regis and WeWork. There's folks that you can go and you can rent an office for a day if you need a place to meet or you need an answering service or something like that. But with today's technology, you don't need any of that. And it's perfectly acceptable to work from home. In fact, a lot of times they prefer it because they know that they're going to get the individual attention and you're not going to be distracted by a lot of other things going around. Okay, let me see if we have any other questions. Okay, Dan, I mentioned that there are 3 categories of the affluent traveler, and I only went into detail on one of them, and that is correct, the active traveler. The second category would be the aspirational traveler, and the third is the affluent, actual people that are actually affluent. Okay, the aspirational traveler is the guy, the people that always have to have the best of everything. They may not necessarily be able to afford to travel in a luxurious manner, but they trade up, they trade around to be able to do what they do. My wife and I were on a Seabourn cruise a couple of years ago, and we met this couple, and they were both retired school teachers. Okay, now we're talking Seabourn cruise. Now we were industry people, so we weren't paying that kind of money, but they were paying for a 7-day cruise. It was $15,000–$16,000 for the 2 of them. Okay, so what is it about that why did they go on Seabourn? Well, it's something they had always aspired to do. They wanted to travel in a luxury product. It came with 2 nights pre, 2 nights post. So they stayed at I forgot the name of the hotel they were at in Venice, but in Athens it was the Grand Britannia. Okay, you had 2 nights. Well, when we were talking to them, they said, "You know what, Dan? We got 2 nights free in one of the best hotels in the world, but we're checking out. We're going to go to the 2-star hotel about 3 blocks away and spend another week here." So aspirational travel is huge. And these are the people that are going to put it on the credit card. So your job as a travel professional is to ask for the credit card. It's to close the sale. You don't get paid if you don't close a sale. Your concern is not whether or not they can pay for their credit card or not. Okay, and I see this all the time. Well, I know that they can't afford this trip, and that's not your problem. Your job is to sell them this vacation package. It's their responsibility to figure out how to pay for it, not yours. So all you really care about is that the credit card goes through. People would, a good example of that is if Dillard's department stores used to sell travel, and people would charge their trip on their Dillard's card because a lot of them couldn't afford to pay it all up front. So they were paying, for years and years at a time on the month. So aspirational is a big part of it. The affluent, yes, there are a lot of affluent folks out there. In fact, the number of households that are 5 million and more, there's over 1 million of them in North America. So there is a lot of money sitting out there. Okay, it's you're going to get the one-offs with the tech people and stuff like that, but most of the folks that have this wealth, it's in the hands of the baby boomers. Okay, and so we want to focus on, those are the folks. They like to travel well. Okay, most people, and always remember this, most people prefer to travel in a manner that's equal to or better than what they live in at home. Okay, so remember that when you're out there shopping around and helping people out, because ask them questions. Ask them about their home. Where, do they go to the club? What kind of restaurants they like? Things like that. You'll get a good feel for it. Then you'll be able to position somebody in a particular product where they need to go. Okay. I think that is about it. Well, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate this. I'm glad we were able to open it up. Most of the questions we actually had came from outside of the membership group. I wanted to make sure that we address things that were important to everyone and stuff. So you've got a taste of what it is. This is what we do. I bring in experts as needed. We are here to help you sell more luxury travel. Period. One last message here. Oh, That's all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. So thank you very much. Y'all have a great month. Go out there, sell something, and go sell some affluent travel.